Well, let's now turn to our next presentation. It comes to us from Orthocell, which is developing regenerative medical products. This includes flagship collagen nerve repair product Remplir, which has been approved in the US, Australia, New Zealand and Asia. Presenting for the company is Orthocell Chief Executive Paul Anderson.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for the kind introduction, and thanks to Ausbiz for the opportunity to present today. And obviously, thank you for your participation. My name is Paul Anderson, CEO and founding member or co-founding member of Orthocell. And so delighted today to give you an update on our progress as we move forward into the exciting US market. Important to note that we're an Australian medical technology company with growing international revenue. We launched our product Remplir into the US market in June of last year, and so making some really steady progress in that market. Important to note that we are fully funded and investing in growth. We're bringing in some domain knowledge into the United States to help really drive this product forward. Important to note that we've got just under $50 million in the bank, and we're really well funded moving forward to execute on this US strategy. And as I mentioned, the market access activities are clearly defined in the US, with execution progressing as planned and sales beginning to build, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentation. But what's important to understand is the unique opportunity that we have that lays in front of us. There's over 700,000 peripheral nerve repairs performed in the US per year. It's a huge number. And for us to break even, we're talking about 5,000 or 6,000 procedures resulting in around 10,000 units, and that's less than 1% of the addressable market. So what a wonderful opportunity for this company that lays ahead of us. And so I just want to give you a little bit about our strategy and our focus. An obvious business goal, which is of great interest to the investors, is that we're really looking to achieve an AS 300 inclusion and really grow our market cap. And to do that, we're really heavily focused on winning in the Americas and growing a high-performance, people-first organisation that has a hybrid model into that US. But of course, we want to accelerate our growth in ANZ and Asia, where we initially launched the product. And we want to scale our manufacturing capability. And important to note that we really own our manufacturing capability. We manufacture our products ourselves, and we own that manufacturing margin. So our focus for full year 2026 is really about gaining market access in the United States with our lead product Remplir. Continue to strategically expand into the Asian markets and complete our EU and UK launch planning, which we should get approval for in later on in this year, and of course continue to recruit specialist talents, either distributors or direct employees, to make sure that we can execute with clarity and execute with a degree of confidence. Important to note, these revenues that we're talking about here, and you can see good steady growth. These revenues do not include anything out of the US, and so that's all upside for us. And so, the total half revenue of 6.2, and we're looking to grow on that as we move through to the full year. So as I mentioned, really, our focus in the US is about gaining market access and growing the customer base with Remplir. So what is Remplir? It's a collagen membrane which is used to repair severed, crushed or damaged nerves. It's a bit like a collagen Velcro, so it's got very unique characteristics that it mimics the outside edge of the nerve called the epineurium. It creates an ideal healing environment for nerve regeneration. It's easy to handle. It negates or supplants the need for suturing of the nerve, simplifying the surgical process and minimising damage to the nerve at the same time. So it protects the repair site from scarring, from adhesions and inflammation, and these are quite unique characteristics. And so technically, to suture two nerves together can be quite challenging, and it's challenging to keep it tensionless, which is really important. And these sutures, every time you plunge the needle and the suture through into the nerve, you don't have to kind of be a scientist or a doctor to work out that that's probably not such a good idea. And those sutures induce a foreign body reaction, leading to chronic inflammation, fibrosis, scarring, and as a result, a lack of consistent and predictable clinical outcomes. So we've seen, as I mentioned, over 700,000 of these cases performed in the US every year. And so we're not the first company to look to design a product that's effective to repair these nerves. And so we've seen other products come to market, but they've got very old technology now and ideally not fit for purpose. They're either too rigid, challenging to deploy. They make it difficult to manage the size differences in the nerve's ends. And so what we want is a product that can be fully integrated into the native tissue. We want one that absorbs at the right time frame. You don't want these medical devices to last too short a time. You don't want them to last too long a time, as you can see in the picture here with the dark purple, where you've got encapsulation of the product. And so our product it improves the integration and the degradation and just disappears in around the 5-month mark once the healing and regenerative work has been done. And so our product, the only product in the market today that really mimics the outside edge of the nerve, called the epineurium, and that's a really key benefit. So there's about 7 key steps that need to be undertaken for your pathway to US commercial success. And really they evolve around, distributors, your pathway and your commercial channel. They evolve around your key opinion leaders and doctors who use your product. And of course, they evolve around the hospitals. So it's a key opinion leader, hospital-led, distributor-driven project that we're about. We now have, in 9 short months, we can now officially sell in 45 states in the US. We now have 8 direct team members that have been hired. We now have 16 distributors that are covering east and west of the US. And I mentioned before the value analysis committees. Value analysis committees is the gatekeeper committee to the hospitals, where you get access to the payers. And so the value analysis looks at your pricing, looks at your safety profile, and making sure that you've got the right regulatory approvals. And so we've got 94 of those underway. We've had 32 of those VAC approvals, giving us access to the hospitals in their DRG system. We now have approximately 50 surgeons and 9 multi-site hospitals with active in the United States. And we've seen in a short space of time, where we did 6 cases in July, we now have just completed 60 cases in this last month. So you can see there's some really positive progression as we move forward into the United States marketplace. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the path to profitability, this unique opportunity, this commercial opportunity that we have with this really unique and optimized product. For us to break even, what does that look like in the US? And so a less than 1% market share. So there's over 700,000 peripheral nerves performed every year in market. Less than 1% of that sees us at a break-even position, and that looks like about 10,000 units from 6,000 procedures. There's about 1.7 units per procedure. So this is infinitely achievable when we think that we've done over 4,000 units within the Australian marketplace in our 3rd full year of operation. With over 350 surgeons, then 6,000 procedures and 300 to 400 surgeons performing 18 procedures per annum. Infinitely achievable, gets us to a break-even position. So as a well-capitalized company, ready to execute with some real diligence here in this marketplace, then that leaves us in a really exciting position. So how is our hospital recruitment, surgeon recruitment and unit sales going? So we saw we had 1 hospital in Q5 full year 2025, and we now have up to 52 hospitals that are now active or have been onboarded. We've grown our surgeon pool from 1 to 48, and so fantastic validation that the surgeons are liking what they're feeling. They're liking the way that works in theatre for them, and so we're seeing both directed growth and organic growth, which is a great sign of a fantastic product. And from a unit sales perspective, we've also seen a fantastic increase from 1 patient in June now through to between 110 and 120 patients that we'll be treating in this last quarter. So really exciting progression made as we go forward. And so we made a conscious strategic decision to launch this product into the Australian marketplace. We're now reimbursed in the private healthcare system. And we've seen fantastic growth, now growing to 314 surgeons in 224 hospitals across the country, with this product now being used in all major public and private hospitals right across the country. And so this growth that we've seen, we're looking to replicate in the United States. So this gives you an understanding of the achievability of what we're talking about in the US. This gives you an understanding of the success that we've had here in Australia and the learnings that we've gained through an understanding of our scientific narrative and how that's rolled out and what's important to surgeons, so we now can translate this and roll this over into the United States market. And so I mentioned before that we're well capitalised and we're driving a hybrid sales model. And so the three gentlemen that you can see here, John Walker, Phil Edmondson and Kevin Leach, bring about 25 years collective experience in the nerve space. All of these gentlemen have come from one of our competitors, Axogen, and so they bring with them lots of domain knowledge. They bring with them an understanding of who the key opinion leaders are. They bring with them a deep understanding of who the good distributors are in that market and what we need to do also from a marketing perspective. So we've got a lot of measures of success. We're talking about increasing our distributors. We're talking about continue to grow in the funnel of VAC submissions. And of course, the addition of new surgeon customers. We're continuing to build data around the clinical usage and publications and training surgeons in the United States, and John's second to none in his abilities to do that. And of course, Kevin, from a marketing perspective, really driving the sales effectiveness from all of our existing distributors and expedite our field team efforts to really onboard new distributors to get access to markets and to grow our usage and sales of this product. And of course, to do that, we really want to make sure that we have all the capacity to manufacture the product and the products that we see moving forward. And so automation is a really important part about what we're doing. Optimization is really important, and making sure that we have the right number of clean rooms and fume hoods to enable us to drive the manufacturing of this product as we move into this really exciting United States market. So we're underway with that market manufacturing extension into phase one. And we're really excited about all of the things that are leading us to need to build a further manufacturing facility. So we're really heading in the right direction. So what do we know? We know that we have a best-in-class platform for bone, tendon, but most importantly for nerve repair, approved now in 9 international jurisdictions with compelling supportive data. So we've got the international jurisdictions, we've got the data, and we have a product that feels fantastic in surgeons' hands, and they continue to talk about the utility of this product, the usability of this product, and the way that it means that they can get consistent and predictable clinical outcomes, which is a really important piece. As I've just mentioned, we manufacture this product ourselves. That means we own the manufacturing scenarios from manufacture to delivery, that we own those margins, which is a really important, because not all companies in this space make their own product, and we're very proud that we do that. Targeting growing international revenues, we're laser focused on the US and winning in the Americas. And our US strategy is well on track, with growing from very small initial numbers in June when we did our first case following our 510K application, to now really seeing acceleration and uptick in surgeons who are using our product and cases that are driven. And again, that'll be driving our revenue as we move forward. And important to note, we've got $49.4 million in the can. We've got strong cash reserves. We've got a really strengthened share register, and we're fully funded in our US rollout, with a cash balance estimated to stay above the high 20s as we move forward towards profitability in this company. So as you can see here, really huge number of outcomes that we achieved last year, with first cases used, first sales, appointment of domain knowledge team members, distributors in Canada and the US. We continue to expand in Hong Kong, Singapore, and indeed in Thailand. Importantly, the second largest market in this space is in the EU and UK, and so that submission has been lodged. We continue to benefit and leverage the R&D tax refund, and so importantly, we're seeing great organic growth, and indeed into the radical prostatectomy area, where our product has been increasingly used. And so we're looking forward to seeing some of that patient data in the first half of calendar year 26. Our first sales in Canada, and of course, really excited about our EU and UK market clearance, which we'll see coming in the second half of calendar year 2026. And so lots of milestones and achieved, and a lot of milestones that lay ahead of us in this really exciting next period for our company. So with that, I thank you.
Well, Paul, thanks so much for the presentation. Let's now get to some viewer questions. The first one being, If you can elaborate on your Americas strategy, you've talked about your pathway to US commercial success. So they want to know how that strategy is going.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Look, we've been really excited and pleased about the steps that we've made forward in the US in the last 9 months, in particular, since we got our FDA clearance. We've been really focused on building a hybrid model. It's a key opinion leader-led, centres of excellence-driven hybrid sales model where we have great domain knowledge for a team of 8 people in the US that are direct, who are managing our sales, our medical education, our marketing, and of course the distributor acquisition and distributor management. So the hybrid model enables us to, keep our capital expenditure to a reasonable point. We know that you need to be represented in that market, but we're working in a distributor model. And interestingly, if you look at some of the very largest companies in the world, the Strykers, the Biomets, the Smith & Nephews, they all run hybrid models. And so the US is such a large market, that's the preferred model.
Paul, also a question just in regards to your key nerve repair product, Remplir. The question is, you say you're not seeking to replace a current dominant market incumbent in the US. Is that right? What's your strategy?
Yeah, look, there are 2 incumbents in the market, in Integra and Oxygen. But when you look at the overall size of the market, some 700,000 incidences of crushed or damaged nerves per year in the US, and some of the incumbents have less than a 5% market share today. Most of the market is centred around suturing of nerves together, and most of the market is now beginning to realise that suturing 2 nerves together is perhaps doing a little bit more damage than they originally thought. So certainly there are some incumbents in the market, but when you look at the size of the market, there's a wonderful opportunity for newbies just like us.
And just further to that, Paul, I do note that your product Remplir is being now used in Ukraine to assist in the recovery of those soldiers hurt on the battlefield.
Yeah, so, nerve injuries are very common in the battlefield, explosive injuries, or gunshot injuries generally will take out your bone, nerve and tendon tissues. And so we felt that the use of our product, because it simplifies surgery, it shortens surgery time and enhances the consistency and the predictability of the surgical outcome. We felt that it was only right that we provided the Ukrainian military with the opportunity to use our product. And we did that through some UK and Australian surgeons. And so to see the product being used and to hear the feedback from the surgeons in the Ukraine that this product has a role to play is a deeply satisfying piece for us.
Paul, a question in regards to your financials. What is your path to break even? How long is it going to take?
Yeah, so they're great questions and ones that excite me. And when you start to look at the numbers, around 10,000 devices from 6,000 cases takes us to a break-even scenario. And so when you think about the progressions that we've made in the Australian marketplace, where we've done over 4,000 units per annum in our 3rd full year, then that gives us a lot of comfort and a lot of excitement around the progressions that we're making in the US. So that break-even piece really, we can see is really on the horizon for us.
Now, Paul, not surprisingly, investors got a question in regards to the share price. Look, it has halved over the past 12 months. The question being, what do you see as the outlook?
Yeah, so look, I think that's an incredible opportunity. I think that we all know that the market geopolitically is tough. We've seen a lot of uncertainty come into the market and a lot of money go into gold and other types of elements of that nature. So, we certainly see that there's a fantastic opportunity for investors in our company. This is not a company that can be blown up by a phase 3 bad result. These are medical devices that are approved in market, that has a strong track record here in Australia, and it's now been translated into the US. And we're seeing surgeons that are similarly trained to the Australian surgeons, surgeons that have similar operative techniques. And so we can translate our learnings from the Australian marketplace into the US, and that gives us a lot of confidence and comfort that the initial surgeons that are coming on board is only going to continue to grow.
And Paul, just finally a question in relation to the current crisis in the Middle East and the global economic impacts of that, and specifically how you see that as affecting your business.
Yeah, so look, I mean, logistics is a really important part of anybody's business. If you manufacture in this country, you need to be able to get it to your markets. So we shipped some 4,000 units about 9 months ago to the US, and so we were able to avoid any of the current geopolitical scenarios. But having said that, we've still shipped to other jurisdictions globally, and we own our logistics from end to end effectively. We manufacture our own product, and the only other people that we pay in this process is for transport and for distributors. So, it's a great model. I think we're ahead of the game. We haven't seen any particular impacts on us yet, but we do have, very sound gross margins for this product. It's a batch product, and so we remain confident and that we will slip through here unscathed.